I saved for 18 years to pay for my daughter's college. She threw the check back in my face at her graduation and said, "My boyfriend's family is rich. I don't need your pathetic savings." She married him a year later. 6 months after that, his family went bankrupt. She came to my door with divorce papers in one hand and a suitcase in the other. I handed her something that made her collapse on my porch. "I don't need poor people money." My daughter said those words to me on the happiest day of her life, her high school graduation, the culmination of 18 years of sacrifice, double shifts, and dreams I'd carried since the day she was born. She was wearing the cap and gown I'd bought her, standing in front of relatives who'd driven hours to celebrate, and she looked at the check in my hand like it was garbage. I'd saved $80,000 for that moment. 18 years of $370 a month, every single month, no matter what. Through layoffs, through medical bills, through years when I ate ramen so she could have everything she needed. And she threw it back in my face because her new boyfriend drove a Mercedes. But here's what my daughter didn't understand. Money doesn't make you rich. Character does. And she was about to learn that lesson the hardest way possible. My name is Gloria Mendez, and I raised my daughter Cassandra alone. Her father left when she was 6 months old, walked out one morning, and never came back. No child support, no contact, no forwarding address. Just a note that said, "I can't do this," and an empty bank account he'd drained on his way out. I was 23 years old with a baby, a high school diploma, and a job as a hotel housekeeper making $8.50 an hour. Everyone told me to give up. My own mother said I should put Cassandra up for adoption, that I couldn't possibly raise a child on my own. Friends said I was ruining my life. The social worker who processed my food stamp application looked at me with pity and handed me pamphlets about realistic expectations. But when I held my daughter, when I looked into her eyes and saw the whole universe waiting to be explored, I made a promise. I would give her everything I never had. I would make sure she never felt the shame of poverty, never wore secondhand clothes to school, never went to bed hungry. And most importantly, I would pay for her college. Every penny. So she could start her adult life without the crushing debt that kept people like me trapped in cycles of working just to survive. I opened the savings account the week after her father left. For 18 years, that account was sacred. I worked my way up from housekeeper to front desk, from front desk to assistant manager, from assistant manager to general manager of a mid-size hotel in Phoenix, Arizona. It took 15 years, countless night classes, and sacrifices I don't even like to think about. But I made it. And every step of the way, $370 went into Cassandra's college fund. When I got promoted, I didn't upgrade my apartment. I kept the money flowing into her account. When my car broke down, I took the bus for 2 years instead of dipping into her savings. When I needed dental work, I waited until I could pay cash rather than touch that money. $80,000. That number represented 18 years of my life. Every birthday I celebrated at home instead of going out. Every vacation I didn't take. Every small luxury I denied myself so my daughter could have a future. I thought she understood. I thought she saw the sacrifices. I thought she appreciated what we'd built together. I was wrong. Cassandra met Preston Whitfield during her senior year of high school. He was everything I wasn't, wealthy, connected, dripping with the kind of casual privilege that comes from never worrying about money a day in your life. His family owned a chain of car dealerships across the Southwest. He drove a different luxury car every month. He wore watches that cost more than my annual salary when I was her age. At first, I tried to be supportive. He was polite when I met him, charming in that practiced way rich kids learn early. He opened doors, called me ma'am, complimented my cooking. But I noticed things. The way Cassandra started looking at our apartment differently, like she was embarrassed by it. The way she stopped inviting friends over. The way she flinched when I mentioned my job, like being a hotel manager was something shameful. "Preston's mom doesn't work," she told me once. "She says women of a certain status don't need to." Good for Preston's mom. I'm proud of my work. Cassandra had rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes at me. "It's just different in their world, Mom. You wouldn't understand." I understood more than she knew. I understood that my daughter was being seduced by money, not by love, not by character, but by the glitter of a lifestyle she thought she deserved. I should have said something, should have fought harder. But she was 18, legally an adult, and every conversation about Preston turned into a fight that pushed her further away. So I stayed quiet, and I counted down the days until graduation, when I could give her my gift and hopefully show her that real love, real sacrifice, was worth more than any Mercedes. The graduation ceremony was beautiful. I sat in the auditorium with tears streaming down my face, watching my daughter walk across that stage. 18 years of struggle, and here she was, cap and gown, honors cords, the whole future stretched out in front of her. Afterward, I hosted a small party at our apartment. My sisters came, a few cousins, some of Cassandra's friends. I'd spent weeks planning it, her favorite foods, decorations, a cake shaped like the logo of the university she was supposed to attend. When the moment came, I stood up and asked for everyone's attention. "Cassandra," I said, my voice shaking with emotion, 18 years ago, I made you a promise. I promised that no matter what, I would give you the gift of education without debt. I've saved every month since you were a baby, and today, I'm so proud to give you this." I handed her the check. $80,000. Every penny I'd saved. She looked at it, and she laughed. Not a happy laugh. A cold, dismissive laugh that silenced the entire room. "Mom." She said it like I was a child who didn't understand something obvious. "I'm not going to state. Preston got me into USC. His family's paying for everything."
"What?"
"You didn't tell me, because I knew you'd make a big deal about it." She held up the check between two fingers like it was dirty. $80,000? That's like 1 year at USC. Preston's family is covering all 4 years, plus an apartment in LA, plus a car. "Cassandra, I saved that money for you, and I appreciate the gesture." She set the check down on the table. "But I don't need it anymore. I don't need poor people money." The room went dead silent. My sister Maria stood up. "Cassandra, how dare you?" "It's fine." Cassandra cut her off. "Mom can use it for retirement or whatever. God knows she needs it more than I do." She picked up her purse, checked her phone, and looked at me with something close to pity. "Preston's picking me up. We're having dinner with his parents to discuss the wedding." "Wedding?" I could barely get the word out. "We're engaged. I was going to tell you later, but..." She shrugged. "Surprise." She walked out of her own graduation party. She didn't look back. The months that followed were the darkest of my life. Cassandra moved to Los Angeles with Preston. She enrolled at USC, paid for entirely by his family, just like she'd said. She sent occasional photos on social media, designer clothes, expensive restaurants, vacations in places I'd only seen in magazines. She didn't call, didn't text, didn't respond when I reached out. I heard about her wedding through Facebook. She got married in a vineyard in Napa Valley, a $200,000 ceremony I wasn't invited to. I found out when my cousin sent me pictures, asking if I was okay. I wasn't okay. I was heartbroken. But what could I do? She was an adult. She'd made her choice. I deposited the $80,000 back into my savings and tried to move on with my life. But I never stopped loving her. Never stopped hoping. Never stopped leaving the door open just in case. 14 months after the wedding, my phone rang. It was a Wednesday evening. I was home, watching television, eating dinner alone like I did every night. The number was unfamiliar. Los Angeles area code. "Hello." Silence. Then, "Mom?" My heart stopped. "Cassandra? I need..." Her voice cracked. "I need help." "What happened? Are you okay?" "Everything's gone, Mom. The money, the house, everything. Preston's family, they lost it all. Some kind of fraud investigation. The FBI seized everything." I sat down slowly. "What do you mean, everything?" "We're being evicted. Preston's parents are going to prison. The dealerships were a front for money laundering. We didn't know. I swear we didn't know. But now everything's frozen, and we have nothing." "Where's Preston?" A long pause.
He left.
3 weeks ago. Just left. Filed for divorce and disappeared. I think he's in Mexico, with whatever money he managed to hide. Cassandra. I don't have anywhere to go, Mom. I have nothing. I can't pay rent. I can't buy food. I dropped out of USC because I can't afford it without them. She was crying now. Ugly, desperate crying that reminded me of when she was a little girl and her father left. Mom, I know I don't deserve it. I know what I said. I know how horrible I was. But please, please, can I come home? I close my eyes. 18 years of saving. 1 moment of cruelty. 14 months of silence. And now here we were. When can you get here? She arrived 3 days later. I watched from my window as a taxi pulled up. Not a Mercedes, not a luxury car, but a regular yellow cab. Cassandra got out slowly, and I barely recognized her. She was thin.
Too thin.
Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her hair unwashed, her eyes red from crying. She carried a single suitcase, one suitcase, after a life of having everything. In her other hand, she held a manila envelope. Divorce papers. I opened the door before she could knock. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. Mother and daughter, separated by pride and money and words that couldn't be unsaid. Then she fell into my arms and sobbed. I let her cry for a long time. We stood on that porch for what felt like hours, her body shaking against mine, 18 months of pain pouring out of her. I didn't say anything, didn't lecture, didn't remind her of what she'd said at graduation. I just held my daughter. When she finally pulled back, her face was swollen and wet. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I don't know how I became that person. I don't know.
Sure.
We'll talk later. Come inside. She followed me into the apartment she'd once been embarrassed by. I made her tea, sat her on the couch, wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. I don't deserve this, she whispered. I don't deserve you being nice to me. You're my daughter. That doesn't change because you made mistakes. Mistakes? She laughed bitterly. I chose money over my own mother. I threw your sacrifice back in your face. I called you poor people. I remember. Then how can you even look at me? I sat down across from her. Because I've spent 18 months asking myself where I went wrong. What I did to make you think money was more important than family. And I realized you didn't learn that from me. You learned it from a world that told you wealth equals worth. Preston and his family just confirmed what society had been whispering your whole life. That doesn't excuse what I said.
No.
It doesn't, but it explains it. I reached out and took her hand. You're here now. That's what matters. Cassandra stared at our joined hands. I have nothing, Mom. No money, no degree, no job skills. I gave up everything for a life that turned out to be a lie. I don't even know who I am anymore. Then we figure that out together. I let her rest that night without bringing up the past. But the next morning, I sat her down at the kitchen table with coffee and a folder I'd kept in my filing cabinet for 18 months. I need to show you something, I said. She looked at the folder nervously. What is it? I opened it and spread the contents across the table. Bank statements. Investment records. A legal document. Do you remember the $80,000? Mom, you don't have to. Answer the question. She nodded, shame flooding her face. I remember. When you gave it back, I didn't spend it on retirement. I didn't use it for anything. I pointed to the bank statement. I invested it, put it into a diversified portfolio, something one of my hotel's business guests taught me about years ago. Cassandra looked at the numbers. Blinked. Looked again. This says $127,000. The market did well. Plus, I kept contributing. I never stopped, Cassandra. Even after you left. Even after you didn't invite me to your wedding. Every month, $370 went into that account. Just like always. She was crying again.
Why?
After everything I did. Because I didn't save that money for the daughter who hurt me at graduation. I saved it for the little girl who used to help me fold laundry and dream about the future. I saved it because I made a promise, and I don't break promises. I pushed one more document toward her. This is the account. It's in both our names, has been since you were born. Legally, it's always been yours. Cassandra stared at the document. Her hands were shaking. I can't take this. You're not taking it. You earned it. 18 years of me believing in you doesn't disappear because of one bad year. But after what I said, what you said hurt me. I won't pretend it didn't. I cried for weeks. I questioned everything I did as a mother. I reached out and lifted her chin, forcing her to look at me. But here's what I've learned in 52 years of life. People are not their worst moments. You were young, dazzled by money, manipulated by people who saw you as a prop in their wealthy lifestyle. That's not an excuse, but it is an explanation. How can you forgive me so easily? Who said it was easy? I smiled sadly. I've had 18 months to process this. 18 months to be angry, to grieve, to eventually accept that my daughter made a terrible mistake and would probably need me again someday. I gestured around the apartment. I kept your room exactly how you left it. I never gave up hope. Cassandra collapsed onto the table, sobbing. I don't deserve you. I don't deserve any of this. Maybe not. But that's the thing about love, Mija. It's not about deserving. It's about choosing. And I choose you. I'll always choose you. The next few months were hard. Cassandra enrolled in community college, paying for it herself with a part-time job at a local restaurant. She refused to touch the college fund, insisting she needed to earn it back. I didn't argue. Some lessons need to be learned through work. She started therapy, unpacking the insecurities that had made her so vulnerable to Preston's world in the first place. She talked about growing up watching other kids have things she couldn't afford, about the shame she'd internalized about our small apartment and my working-class job. I thought if I could just get to that world, the rich world, I'd finally feel like I was enough, she told me one evening. But the whole time I was there, I felt more empty than ever. Like I was pretending to be someone else and terrified they'd figure out I didn't belong. You belong wherever you decide to belong, I said. Money doesn't define that. Character does. I know that now. She looked at me with clear eyes. I just wish I'd known it before I threw away the most important relationship in my life. You didn't throw it away. You stepped away from it. There's a difference. What's the difference? Throwing away means it's gone forever. Stepping away means you can step back. I squeezed her hand. And you did. You stepped back. 2 years later, Cassandra graduated from Arizona State University. Not USC. Not some fancy private school paid for by someone else's money. A state school that she'd paid for herself, partly with a college fund, partly with scholarships she'd earned through her grades and community work, partly with the money she'd saved from working 30 hours a week while studying full-time. She graduated with honors. Summa cum laude. A degree in social work, because she wanted to help kids who grew up like she did, caught between poverty and the seductive lies of wealth. I sat in the same auditorium I'd sat in 4 years earlier. Same tears streaming down my face. Same pride bursting in my chest. But this time, when she walked across that stage, she stopped at the microphone. I wasn't supposed to speak today, she said, her voice carrying across the room. But I asked the dean for 2 minutes, and he said yes. She looked directly at me. 4 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I rejected a gift that represented 18 years of sacrifice. I told my mother I didn't need her poor people money. The auditorium was silent. I was wrong. I was so wrong. That money wasn't poor people money. It was love. It was every double shift, every skipped vacation, every sacrifice a single mother made because she believed in her daughter more than her daughter believed in herself. She was crying now.
So was I.
So was half the auditorium. Mom, I know I can never undo what I said. But I want you to know, this degree is yours. Every grade, every achievement, every step I took to become someone you could be proud of, I did it because you showed me what real wealth looks like. It looks like love that doesn't give up. It looks like forgiveness that doesn't demand perfection. It looks like a mother who kept saving for her daughter even after that daughter broke her heart. She held up her diploma. This is for you, Mom. Everything I am is because you never stopped believing in me. After the ceremony, she found me in the crowd. We hugged for a long time. Not like the desperate, broken hug on my porch 2 years earlier, but like two people who'd weathered a storm and come out stronger. I meant every word, she said. I know. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. You don't have to make anything up. You just have to keep going. Keep growing. Keep being the woman you're becoming. She pulled back and looked at me. I want to tell you something. I've been saving. Saving? Every month. Since I got my first paycheck. I've been putting money into an account. She smiled. For my future kids' college fund. I'm going to do exactly what you did. And someday, I'm going to tell them the story of their grandmother, the hotel manager who taught her daughter that real wealth isn't about money. It's about showing up. It's about sacrifice. It's about love that doesn't quit. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. My daughter, my beautiful, redeemed, transformed daughter, had learned the lesson I'd spent 18 years trying to teach. Come on, she said, taking my arm. Let me buy you dinner. Somewhere nice. You don't have to spend money on me. I know. But I want to. I want to celebrate with the most important person in my life. She grinned. Besides, I've got poor people money now. And I've never been prouder of anything. Asterisk, she threw my $80,000 check back in my face and called it poor people money. She chose a rich boyfriend over her own mother. She disappeared into a world of wealth that turned out to be built on lies. Asterisk. Asterisk, but here's what I've learned about being a parent. Your job isn't to raise perfect children. Your job is to love them through their imperfection. To leave the door open even when they slam it shut. To keep believing in who they could become, even when they've forgotten themselves. Asterisk. Asterisk, my daughter forgot herself for a while. She got lost in someone else's money, someone else's values, someone else's definition of success. Asterisk. Asterisk, but she found her way back. Not because she ran out of options, but because somewhere deep inside, she remembered what real wealth looked like. Asterisk. It looked like $370 a month for 18 years. It looked like a door that was always open. It looked like a mother who never stopped saving, never stopped hoping, never stopped loving, even when her heart was broken. Asterisk, that's the inheritance I gave my daughter. Not the money, though that helped too, but the knowledge that she was worth fighting for, worth forgiving, worth every sacrifice I ever made. Asterisk. Asterisk, she knows it now. And someday, she'll pass it on. Asterisk. Asterisk, that's how real wealth works. It doesn't disappear when the stock market crashes or the FBI freezes your accounts. It grows. It multiplies. It passes from generation to generation. Asterisk. Poor people money. Turns out it was the richest gift I ever gave.